Hello class, this is Mrs. Mullich. As you can see, our next project is going to be a collage of our pet, cat or a dog, even if you have a bird. So what you're going to do is you are going to take a photograph. Take a photograph for this project. And what you want to focus in on is the eyes, getting a really good photo of the face and maybe a little bit of the upper torso. Of course, you can crop your picture as well once you take it. If you don't have a pet or cat or a dog, you are going to be looking on the internet for your reference. And again, it's the same thing. You want to find a reference that focuses in on the face. And again, you can zoom in and crop. So I'm going to give you this time right now to go gather your reference, and I'll meet you back at the studio. Okay, here we are. Hopefully you found a reference. If you have a cat or a dog as a pet, take a picture of them. The artwork will be more meaningful when you are finished. So I did draw this on a separate piece of paper, but you will and I will get to that point, but you will have either your sketchbook or you will have the large white paper. Okay. So what I did, if you have the large white paper, what I did was I folded it in half, and I'm actually going to be drawing and using the inside so that I can use the outside when I glue, and I'll show you that part. But again, this is the part I'm going to be drawing on, and I'm going to be flipping it when I glue and kind of press it. I'm going to be doing this particular one in the sketchbook just because I have a few of the white papers. But you, again, if you want to practice in your sketchbook, that's fine as well. You can always practice in your sketchbook and then trace and transfer. When I am drawing, first I need my reference. There's my reference photo. This is my neighbor's dog. And I like this particular reference because I can see the eyes. I like the nose out, but I also like the fact that it has sort of dark areas and then light areas. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the dog. I do want to fill up my whole paper. You can see from this reference here, try to make it as large as possible. And one thing that helps you to do that is I try to touch 3 sides. So I've touched this bottom side and I've touched this side, not quite that side, but again, that gives me an idea of how large to make it. So I'm going to start with the eyes. And the nice thing about this particular project is that since you're covering it with the collage paper, you don't have to have the best drawing. You just kind of want to pay attention to placement. So what I did here is I know that animal eyes are 2 eye spaces apart. So this is very similar to the basket that we did where I kind of put little dots, sort of spacing. So I'm going to have one eye here and the other eye here. And if you feel more comfortable drawing this with a grid, by all means do that. There's lots of different ways to draw. So again, if you're going to do the grid, same thing, you don't really need to worry because everything is going to be covered by the collage paper. Can you see that? Let's zoom in a little bit. Then I'm going to draw side of these sort of large shapes that are on the dog as well. And again, I'm drawing kind of this large white shape. So this particular project does focus in on shape, large shapes. And the drawing's probably going to take you what would be equivalent to 1 class period, maybe a little bit more. I see in the ears, again, I try to look for large geometric shapes. And going to change this. This eye seems like it's in the wrong place. Again, I am constantly looking back at my reference, seeing that what I'm looking at makes some sense. I think I drew the eye a little droopy on there. It's not as droopy. That really looks better. Okay. In this eye itself, with a person's eye, a human eye, we see the whites of the eye, but with an animal, a dog, we do not see the whites of the eyes because their opening is a lot smaller. So again, I don't really need any whites of the eyes, but I am going to put in a little circle that's eventually going to represent the color of the eye, the iris of the eye, the highlight of the eye. Okay, you can see just by adding those 3 circles, it starts looking a little bit like an eye. I did notice this one, my reference is a little bit on an angle. And again, I can draw all these lines in because I am going to go over them with the paper, the collage paper. Again, with the tongue, I see, I'm going to say an oval shape or an egg shape. Again, I see a big triangle shape. Try to look for the larger sort of shapes. I do also want to pay attention to the outline or the outside. So for example, if I have a dog that is very furry, I want to, like here for example, in the ear, I'm going to add a little sort of zigzag, okay, shape there. And that's going to, when I do my collage, it's going to make it look much more realistic, even though it's not really, it's more abstract. But so I'm adding a little bit of a realistic element to a little bit of an abstract element. And again, I don't know if you noticed what I did here. I sometimes, what artists will do is they'll sketch very lightly, like this part here I sketched very lightly. Then once I decide on a particular shape, I'm going to go back and make it a little bit, like here, the ear, I made it a little bit darker. I don't really need to put these little lines in here, but I don't know, I like to do that. But I don't really need them because, again, it's going to be a collage. Again, I'm looking for the shapes. I have this large brown shape kind of coming here. This ear goes off the edge of my paper. Here on again on top of the ear, I want to add a few little zigzags. And again, when you are adding these zigzags, you want to kind of exaggerate them a little bit because again, you're doing them with cut paper. So again, they don't need to be perfect as if I was doing a realistic drawing, I would focus much more on the shading. Here I see down here also these sort of zigzags. What I also try to do, because it's fur and hair, I try to add variety. Okay, so I have zigzags here, but they're all different. In fact, this one is the one that looks the most unrealistic because hair doesn't grow even like that. So some go to the left, some go to the right, up and down. In fact, I'm going to change that one because it looks so kind of forced. Okay, so just kind of make it more uneven. And then I have this white fur. Yep, try to make it, it's going to be easier also when we add the collage if your shapes are a little bit bigger. So again, use your whole paper as you see in the samples. All right. So again, that's going to take you what's equivalent to one class period. So set aside some time to do that. And once you have the dog drawn, we're going to move on to the next step, which is adding the collage. I wanted to take this time to look at our examples again. Here the background was cut rectangles. Here the artist uses non-traditional colors, so purple for the dark colors as well as black and blue and red. Here the background is really one color, one shade of blue, various little shades of blue, but you can see how they've used the words. And there's also yellow in the brown. Browns and greens are easy to find, generally speaking, in magazines. And again, different shades of brown in this one. So go gather your magazines, and I will meet you back in the art studio. All right, here we are at the next step, and we are ready to start with the collage. Hopefully you have some magazines. We belong to AAA, so we get this magazine. So depending on where you live, you can find some magazines. I'm just going to kind of look through here. And what I did a little bit is I sort of picked some paper. So I'm going to actually make 2 of these dogs. I actually drew it twice. One is going to be more realistic, and so I'm looking for browns and whites, so different shades of brown. And don't worry about the words or anything like that. You're going to include those in there. So this area has a little brown, kind of here's a beige I picked for that. Here's kind of a dark brown color. I love the browns in this one here. I'm looking for the browns, and even these beiges, I think I can use the browns in here. Okay. And then this, I was using the white with the words on it. Okay, so that's the brown and white dog. That is similar to my reference. But one thing that you can do, as you saw through the examples, is you can use different colors. So this dog, I'm going to be making yellow and blue. So anything that is white or light is going to be my yellow color. Anything that is brown or dark is going to be my dark blue color. Okay, so I found blue for that. I found yellow. Again, don't worry about the words. I actually like seeing the words, and I'll talk a little bit about how to use the words more effectively. This whole page is very dark, even has some purples and blues. So this is actually a very good page because I'm going to use a lot of that particular page. Same thing here. Don't worry. This is very interesting because this also has the yellow in it. So it's just going to go in the blue part of the dog, but it'll pick up the other yellow that's in there. So again, talking a little bit about value. If it's a light color, you can use a light color. If it's a dark color, you can use a dark color. So there's a variety of different color combinations. Again, it's all about the value. All right, let's do the brown one first. So this one I did start a little bit just to kind of show you. So this is the white part of the dog. So what I did is I found my paper here. You can cut it with a pair of scissors. I'm going to rip it. I don't like this part because the words are too large. So I'm just going to kind of rip. I rip and kind of find a shape. I can use don't use them too large, but kind of look it in there. That's kind of a good shape that fits in there very nicely. So once I've decided where to put a particular shape, so that shape's going to go right there. So I can zoom in a little bit more. Then I'm going to take my glue stick. So again, I have my materials basically are my magazines, my glue stick, and again, if you need scissors right now, I'm ripping them, but you can also use scissors. I'm going to take my glue stick. I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to take the paper. I'm going to just move these out of the way for a second. Now, you have yours drawn hopefully on the inside of your large paper. So that's important because I'm going to be closing it to attach the glue or to add some pressure. So that's the side I'm going to be gluing. That's the back side. So I'm just taking the glue stick and kind of putting glue on all parts. This works a little bit better than kind of using your glue stick in a more traditional way. So I've got glue on that part there. Place it where I want it. Then I'm going to take my other paper and press hard. This is a very important step, that you glue it down and add pressure between everything that you glue. Okay, and then just kind of verify that that's indeed down. I'm going to do this big part right here. First, I kind of rip out a shape, and then I'm going to take my hands and rip it a little bit more kind of perfect. So I want to fit it kind of right there. That looks good there. You are going to end up with a lot of little pieces of paper, so just kind of know that going in, I guess. Again, my glue stick's open. Place it on top. And the reason I do this too is I want to make sure that I get glue on all the edges. How much did I have that there? I'm going to rip that. Right. There's not enough glue on there. Oops. Place that on there. Pressure. And you can, again, I find that, again, closing that paper does work quite nicely. So you can do a section. I'm going to kind of skip down to, or skip around to the brown just so you see that. I'm going to do the top part. So here I'm using this piece right here. This has got lots of different shades of brown, and I actually like the folds in the paper as well. And start down here. So I have been ripping it, but I'm going to just show you. Let's say I do want to cut it. And I'm just going to cut that a little bit. I'm actually going to leave one side ripped and one side cut. And I am looking at my reference kind of off camera. So there's my reference off camera. There's a dark area right in here. So that's what I'm filling in. What I don't recommend is don't put the glue on this paper. It's going to get really super messy. Okay. So again, you can do one piece at a time with the glue stick, or you can do it on a paper. Again, I like to just keep it in my hands. Makes it a little bit easier. Where do I want to place that to make it look three-dimensional? Put that on there. Close it. Okay. If you don't have the white paper, you're using your sketchbook, any paper will do. Let me just get a piece of scrap paper here. A little sheet of yellow paper. Again, I find that easier. One of the reasons why things do not stick is because people don't add the pressure or to the paper. So I'm going to add another little one there. So I'm going to, you've seen enough that you kind of understand the process. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to continue on this, but I am going to fast forward through it. Just take your time. Try to do, even 30 minutes a day. You can get quite a bit done if you set aside a block of time to work on art. Again, 30 or 40 minutes every day or every other day, depending on how fast you go. Okay, all right, I'll see you in a bit. Well, there you have the finished art project. This took me about 3 hours. I had to wash my hands a couple of times, so I'm just kind of giving you some heads up. Gets kind of sticky. I do have a friend that does collage, and she does use a tweezer occasionally to get the smaller pieces. Okay, all right, good luck. Let me know how you're doing. Take care.